It was the middle of the night when the robbers came. They had big guns and covered their faces with black masks. Everyone in our street knew them. They were the ones who stole from shops and hurt people who fought back. I was hiding under my bed, holding my little sister close. Mama had told us to be quiet. But then, we heard a loud voice outside. Enough. The voice was deep, like thunder. It didn't sound scared. It didn't sound angry. It just sounded sure. Like the person knew exactly what would happen next. I crawled to the window and peeked outside. The robbers had stopped in their tracks. A tall man stood in the middle of the street. He wore a long, dark cloak that moved like smoke in the wind. His skin was so dark it almost blended with the night, but his eyes glowed like hot coal. "Verydarkman," I whispered. Everyone had heard stories about him, but no one knew if he was real. The leader of the robbers laughed. "Who do you think you are?" Verydarkman didn't answer. He lifted his hand, and suddenly, all the street lights flickered on. The robbers flinched. The leader pointed his gun at Verydarkman, but before he could shoot, the gun flew out of his hands like it had been yanked by an invisible rope. The other robbers tried to run, but their feet wouldn't move. One by one, their weapons clattered to the ground. It was like the air around them had turned heavy, pressing them down. Some fell to their knees, gasping for breath. "Go," Verydarkman said. His voice was soft now, but it carried power. "Leave this town and never return." The robbers, still shaking, scrambled to their feet and ran. Their leader looked back once, his eyes wide with fear, before he disappeared into the night. The street was silent. Then, windows creaked open, and doors unlocked. People stepped out, whispering, pointing. But Verydarkman was already walking away, his dark cloak blending into the night. Mama hugged me and my sister tight. "He saved us," she whispered. The next morning, the whole town talked about what had happened. But when the police came to ask questions, no one could say where Verydarkman had gone. No one knew where he lived, or when he would come again. But we all knew one thing: if evil ever returned, so would he. As days passed, more stories about him spread. Some said he could disappear into the shadows at will. Others swore he could hear cries for help from miles away. A few believed he wasn't even human, but a spirit sent to protect the weak. One old woman, Mama Neka, claimed she had seen him once before, years ago, when another group of criminals had terrorized the town. "He comes when he is needed," she said, rocking in her chair. "And when peace returns, he fades into the night." Some people didn't believe in him. They said he was just a man with tricks, someone using fear to scare away the bad people. But those of us who had seen him knew better. There was something different about Verydarkman. Something beyond what we could explain. One evening, I sat on our porch, watching the sunset. My sister played with her dolls, humming softly. Mama was inside, cooking. The air was warm, peaceful. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, steady. I turned my head and saw a tall figure at the end of the street, half hidden in the fading light. He stood still for a moment, then gave a small nod before stepping into the shadows. A chill ran down my spine, not from fear, but from something else. A feeling I couldn't name. Verydarkman was still watching over us. And as long as he was out there, we would be safe.